if you're crossing industries, like that's a transferable skill, sales. Sure, you might not know specific terminology or lingo, but you can showcase your initiative by putting some of those words. Hey, I've also been, I've took this course, I took this training program on in about this industry. I read this article, something to showcase that you're interested in that industry and that you're learning, that particular niche, because sales is extremely transferable. If you can sell, automotive parts and you're good at it, you can sell healthcare products, you can sell online product, like you can sell anything. It's a skill that once you have it, man, you can really you can make some big money. Well, I'll give you guys a little bit about me, and then hopefully I'll find out about you when you guys start to fill out those survey responses. I just kind of want to see where you guys are at, if you guys are business owners yet, or if you're working to get there, if you guys are, what you guys are primarily focused on, whether that's marketing, whether it's sales or business. That'll help me gauge the conversation a little bit better. So I'm not really the type of person to just get up here and lecture at you. It's a mastermind, so I want a lot of participation and hopefully discussion, because I think that that's really how you get the most out of, learning. You actually only retain I think it's like 10% of what you hear. But if you're actively engaged, that retention percent can go up to like 50 or 60 or even 70%. So the more you guys are engaged and active, the better our little mastermind is going to be. So let me know where you guys, go ahead and type in the chat, some topics or some questions that you guys have that you think you might be able to benefit from the most. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll let you guys think about that. I'll just give you guys a little bit of background about me, so that way you have a better idea of where I might be able to help you from my perspective. And then we'll go from there. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So a little bit about me. I am, like was mentioned in the intro, former wrestler, but I spent 7 years in college. I actually have 4 degrees, and I don't say that to be braggadocious. I actually think half of them were a waste of time. I left 7+ years of college, $130,000 in debt, and very regretful that I spent so much time and money and effort on college, because the MBA was a complete waste of time and money. I learned very little related to entrepreneurship or business or sales that's actually applicable to real world stuff. So if you've ever thought about getting an MBA, you think that that's necessary to be successful, I can 100% assure you that it is absolutely not necessary. And had I the opportunity to go back and take my $30,000 back and hand over that degree, I probably would do that. No questions asked there. I started working my way backwards. I had a master's of science degree in anesthesia. I had a master's of science in nursing. So I worked as a critical care RN, went back to school after a few years working in the ER and ICU, and got an anesthesia degree and was an anesthesia provider. Was able to earn a pretty decent income, 130 to 250K a year doing anesthesia, but I absolutely hated it. It was a miserable experience because of the hours that you have to work. I mean, I was cranking out anywhere from 50 to 70 hours a week, and was not very enjoyable. After about a year or two of doing that, it's just pure burnout. They make you work nights, they make you work holidays, weekends, and it was a rough few years after you start to get burnt out and tired from that. So what I did was I ended up starting my own practice, and absolutely loved it. I loved being a business owner, loved being an entrepreneur, loved being in control of my own destiny, and that sort of spawned into a lot of other healthcare professionals calling me and asking me for advice on how to start their practices. And I never had any intentions whatsoever of being a coach or a consultant or teaching other people how to start businesses. I just wanted my own exit from being basically a slave to the healthcare profession. What I did in anesthesia is, just to give you guys a little, paint the picture for you. I actually essentially lived in the hospital. I lived in a call room for 24 hours. 3 days a week usually, sometimes 2, but mostly 3 days a week. And it was rough. The call room literally has like the screen the screen on the window that's in between the glass. You guys know what I'm talking about, with a little metal mesh so you can't punch it and get out. So it was literally like a prison cell. I had one tiny window. It was about 12 feet by 12 feet, and it was not a fun experience working that particular job. So I started my own practice. Things went really well. I ran it for about a year and then moved and then started doing the coaching and consulting. So I was also in the Navy Reserves for 10 years, left last year as a lieutenant commander, did anesthesia in the reserves as well, got to spend some time in New York City with the COVID team, got to spend some time on the green side working with the Marines. The whole time I was medical doing anesthesia stuff. So I kind of transitioned into business by accident when I started that, online business by accident when I started the clinic, because that consulting essentially gave me my first idea into my first working idea into launching an online training program. So actually prior to that, I had launched in 2016 something called Nurse Academy, which was going to help aspiring nurses get prepared for nursing school. So I launched the Ketamine Academy after the Nurse Academy completely flopped, and I learned some real hard lessons there in terms of the scale at which you need to sell a product if you're charging really low prices. And so for Nurse Academy, our tuition was essentially between 15 and 19 bucks. And in order to make any sort of decent living selling $15 to $19 training programs, you have to sell tens of thousands of them. And so that program, I ended up just unlocking all the course content, putting it on YouTube. Now a lot of the videos actually have tens of thousands of views. I just put it out there for free for all the aspiring nursing students out there, and then put my focus on the Ketamine Academy. So the Ketamine Academy is actually how I initially started teaching healthcare professionals how to start their own business. And I learned an insane amount about business, about the sales process in the healthcare space, and about online marketing from that. And we still have that academy today. We launched another academy in 2018, which teaches IV nutritional therapy.
I'll give you 2 bottles tomorrow, okay?
And that course is actually far superseded what the Ketamine Academy does. Combined, those two courses have done somewhere around 5 million. This year we'll probably hit 3 million in sales. We're launching a third course this year in partnership with another physician called the Aesthetics Academy. I host a podcast that I launched in 2019. And for me, my plan is just to grow our online education business. And so you guys are heavily involved in sales. Everybody here sounds like pretty much. So I'm interested to see, where you guys are at in your journey. Once I stop sharing my screen here, I can see some of your chat comments. Looks like everybody is, go Navy, Mary. Everybody's in the middle of their trainings so far. So lots of sales stuff going on in this room, looks like, as I scan these comments here. Anybody aspiring to be a business owner?
Yes.
A couple of you? Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Open a couple businesses. Yeah.
And what are you guys planning on doing once you graduate from this training program that you guys are currently in? Are you guys already working on getting, those sales reps positions lined up? Are you starting to network and get prepared for those sorts of things?
Yes. Yep.
Everybody's working?
Just started.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I kind of use mine in a different way. I run recovery homes, so this has helped me be able, to have that mindset, man, to stay positive when opening up recovery substance abuse homes. I'll be opening up my second recovery house this Friday.
Awesome. Good for you guys. Good for you, Glenn. I like that. So I think based on where you guys are at right now, some of the advice that I could potentially sort of throw out here for you guys that'll be the most relevant is, so I'm kind of in the process right now of hiring. And so you guys are going to be looking for positions really, really soon, right? And so I'm going to share a little bit of advice for you guys as you're looking for positions, because right now we've got 4 jobs posted. I did 5 interviews today. I did a handful yesterday, a handful the day before. And you guys, in order to get, first of all, you got to be able to get into an interview, right? So I think that that's going to be crucial for you guys. And how are you going to get into an interview when you're applying to sales rep positions that have a bunch of competition, right? So that's going to be something that you guys need to really think about. I'm going to give you a few pointers because I've been sorting through hundreds of resumes that all look the same, and hundreds of resumes that don't stand out. They don't draw my eye to them. They don't make me want to interview them. So when you guys are trying to apply for jobs, I'm going to give you from an employer's perspective and an entrepreneur's perspective who's trying to find top talent. One of the things that you guys are going to want to be doing is getting whomever you're trying to get a hold of, whether that's an HR manager, whether that's a business owner. You need to get somebody's attention. So that's going to be the very first thing, because you're going to be sending your resumes, and they're going to be in a stack of resumes, whether they're printed or whether they're email resumes. You got to make sure that you stand out, because all we're doing as HR people, as business owners, we're trying to find the top talent the fastest, because we got a lot of crap going on. We got businesses to run, and we don't have time to sit there and read every line on a resume. So we're scanning, I can tell you that for sure. And we're looking for, one, did you even read the job post? So if you guys are not even reading the job post, then and making that very clear when you submit your resume, when you do a reach out to somebody, then you guys are going to be, you're never going to find a sales rep position. And I see that every single day for all the positions that I post. I literally have very specific instructions. Send me a cover letter. Doesn't even have to be anything fancy. One paragraph on how you would fit the job well. Like, why should I pick you? People don't even take the time to send a cover letter. You will never find a job opportunity. You'll never get your foot in the door if you don't take the time to write at least a paragraph on why you think you're the best fit for the job. I actually started doing a screening process where if I put instructions and if the instructions don't get followed, that email or that resume gets thrown out instantly. I don't even look at the application whatsoever, because they're not paying attention to the details. And so that's going to be super important for you guys. So always read through word for word. I know you're applying for lots of jobs. It's a lot of work when you're looking for that those first couple positions. And so it seems a little bit daunting to read through, a whole page or sometimes even 2 pages of job post descriptions. But read through those and then follow any instructions that are on there. If you can't follow the instructions, you're just wasting your time anyways. So follow those instructions. Send over a cover letter, explain in 1 to 2 paragraphs why you're a good fit for the job. If you don't have any experience yet doing sales, talk about what a sales rep does, how you've things that are related to sales. If you haven't sold anything yet, talk about your ambition, talk about your drive, talk about how you aren't going to be the type of person to just sit there and not pick up the phone and call people. Talk about how you've sold things in other areas of your life if you haven't done it professionally. So those are going to be key things to help you stand out. The ultimate thing that you need to do on that first sort of interaction, whether that be a DM or an email or submitting your stuff on Indeed or whatever it is to stand out. If you can't stand out, if you can't follow those simple instructions, you're not even going to get looked at. So come up with some sort of creative way to stand out. So these are the things that I'm looking for when I'm hiring. We hire a lot of marketers, right? So we have an online business. We have a big demand for skilled online marketers. And so in my mind, a marketer should be able to market themselves. And so if they can't write good copy on their resume, if they can't write a good cover letter, if they can't get my attention, then they're a crappy marketer and I don't want them anyways. So a few simple things that they could be doing, right, are send me a Loom video. Like, I think maybe 0.1% of people send me a Loom video on why they would be a good fit for the job. That stands out right away. Everybody else is typing and sending me paragraphs, if they even do that. People that send a Loom video on why they're a good fit and how they're a hustler and how they're a grinder and how they're willing to learn, or if they've already got the experience, demonstrating some of those experiences that they've got, they go straight to the interview stack. And I'm immediately wanting to get on a call with them to just see if they're, take things to the next level and see if they're a good fit. So that's, I think at the stage of where a lot of you guys are, I think that's going to be some critical pieces of advice to getting your foot in the door, because it's all about getting that experience, right? Once you get that That first job under your belt and you start hitting some home runs, then your track record is going to speak for itself. And then your resume should all be about track record, track record, track record. I closed this many sales. My sales percentage was this. And you got to follow your numbers and you got to put metrics in your resume. If you are a sales or a marketing person and you are not tracking your metrics and you're trying to get a new position and you have no metrics to showcase, again, you're not going to get an interview. You're not going to get any work at all anywhere. And you guys are taking this training program because you want to get positions and you want to get those high commission positions, right? Some of these online high ticket closers, I mean, they're making 20, 30% on some high ticket things. And so if you guys are good, you can make a killing in this space. Anybody have any comments on that? Oh, hey,
where do we go to get these, the posts and things that you like to apply? Where do we go to do that?
Where do you go to find jobs?
Yeah, I mean, you saying you had some postings, and how do we get access to that to be able to see the postings, or even when you said that you had some questions that you wanted us to see, we're not there. Are we able to still access it right now because we couldn't do it at first?
Also, those first 4 questions I was talking about when I first jumped on here, they were just a quick survey, just to see if you guys were in sales or in business. We just kind of covered all that already, so it doesn't matter. For some reason, it was hidden or not public or something. And the job post I was referring to are job posts that I currently have right now. We don't hire salespeople at this very moment, but we have many job openings. And so as a business owner, I'm giving you the business owner's perspective on how to stand out, because we get an insane amount of applications, and people who can't follow very simple directions, especially like, so for example, if we need somebody who has to be very attentive to detail, like a virtual assistant, like somebody who's processing financial records or something, we will, in the middle of the job post, give them an instruction. Like, put purple cow in the first line of your cover letter. That immediately tells us that if they catch that they're detail oriented, which is, something that's critical for that particular position. Something to deal with numbers. If they're dealing with our finances, we tend to do that sort of thing. So usually the job post has everything that they're looking for right in the job post. So they're going to have the skills that you need. They're going to have the hard and the soft skills. They're going to use the actual verbs that they're looking for: energetic, motivated, driven, experienced. And so if you put your cover letter and you just use those exact same words that they've put in their job post and push that right back at them, they're going to be like, oh crap, I was looking for an energetic sales rep. This person just says they're an energetic sales rep. You're going to start moving up their list to get that interview really, really quick. So just some quick pointers for you guys that I think, like I said, it'll be super helpful for you guys as you finish up this program and you start to look for those positions. If you're a sales rep, people want to see energy. I can tell you that too. If you get on a phone and an interview and your shoulders are down and you're all sort of scrunched up and you're like, yeah, I'm a sales rep and I can do some phone calls and I'll make some sales for you, and you're all timid and no energy, nobody's gonna hire you. You gotta play the part, you gotta act the part, right? Because those confident closers, those people, they stand tall, their shoulders are back, and they talk confident, and they got some energy, right? Because they got to pick up that phone, they got to be on that phone all day long, and it takes energy to do that. It takes commitment. So you got to showcase those types of things if you can get in front of that hiring manager, that business owner.
So I really like what you made a point about the cover letter and just kind of summarizing, hey, this is why I'm a good fit for everything. Currently, I've actually never been in the online sales space. I'm actually an automotive sales manager as of now, so I deal a lot with automotive repairs. So I'm selling that, but how would I go about incorporating that into kind of a cover letter brief statement?
Yeah, so I would showcase your knowledge on sort of the products that you would be selling at that potential position. What type of automotive things would you be selling?
We sell anywhere from brakes, alignments, suspension work, engine repairs. It just really depends on what the customer's needing.
Gotcha. All by phone?
No, most of the time in person.
In person. Yeah. So one, I would showcase the fact that you know all of that stuff. I mean, you can list that stuff right in your resume. You know, if you're applying to a job for that frontline sales rep who's taking those orders and doing the upsells, use the lingo, use the words. You know, here's an example. I had this customer come in and I upsold him. I mean, they're going to want to see those types of language. I upsold them, you know, a package that was 3 times more than what they came in to buy. And so they want to see numbers. They want to see that you understand the sales terminology. Well, this person came in for this other thing, you know, and I downsold them, or I gave them a cross sell. You got to use the terminology and really make sure that you know what you're showcasing, that you know what you're doing. And then like for sure, you definitely want to mention all those things industry specific that you're familiar with, because that's a big selling point versus, you know, somebody who's coming from like medical sales. If they're going to apply for, you know, an automotive sales job, that's a whole nother barrier to entry, right? They got to learn all the terminology, all the lingo. So put that stuff in your cover letter, showcase that terminology that you know, showcase the sales terminology, and then make sure that you're tracking metrics somewhere. And showcase that in your cover letter too. So if you're not doing sales now, think of things that you've sold in the past, or upsold or downsold, and start to use those as examples in your cover letter. That'll get somebody's attention for sure. And then I'm telling you, a Loom video goes super far. If you can shoot a 2-minute Loom video, and you don't want to fake it till you make it. I mean, be your real personality, but don't show up. Don't record that Loom video after you've been working for 15 hours and you're like deadbeat tired. You know, do it when you're fresh, do it when you're ready to go, and showcase, you know, that you're a good communicator, that you've got energy, that you've got drive, that you're determined to close some deals and make some sales, no matter what it is. Yep. And if you're going to a position, or if you're applying to a position like that's in person, it's even easier to especially if they're local. I mean, I would assume that you're applying local. It's even easier just to stop by the shop, right? Find out who the manager is. Maybe they're not there that day, but find out who they are, what they look like, get their business card, and then meet them in the parking lot as they're walking in one day, or and introduce yourself. Wait for them to get into the office and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I put my application in. People want to see faces with those resumes, because I'm telling you, they get hundreds of them. And if you don't have a face, if you don't have a personality, if you don't have something that stands out, you're never even going to get that interview.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing now is, you know, transferring the skills I have gained from the sales portion of my job into more of the online aspect. I've been in automotive for 10 plus years now, so I'm ready to kind of get out of it and try using those skills for another type of product or service, or another way I can help people, you know. So it's just trying to figuring out the way I can kind of present those skills from my past into a new way I can actually use them, you know.
Yeah, for sure. If you're crossing industries, like that's a transferable skill, sales. Sure, you might not know specific terminology or lingo, but you can showcase your initiative by putting some of those words. Hey, I've also been, you know, I've took this course, I took this training program about this industry. I read this article, something to showcase that you're interested in that industry, and that you're learning, you know, that particular niche, because sales is extremely transferable. If you can sell you know, automotive parts and you're good at it, you can sell healthcare products, you can sell online product, like you can sell anything. It's a skill that once you have it, man, you can really you can make some big money. I actually did anesthesia on a guy who was a sales rep for timeshares, and he was hilarious, man. You could tell he got high energy, super talkative, super chatty, like really nice guy. He told me he was making $800K a year selling timeshares. And he's like, this was like, as I was putting him to sleep, he's like, I think I make more money than you. I make 800K. I was like, yep, you do.
Awesome. Well, we'll just open it up to more questions. Chrissy, I know you've had your hand up for a while. Do you have a question for Jason? I guess I'll ask one while we're waiting for some more questions to come in. Just pretty much wanted to ask about you being a wrestler. I'll just keep it short. Why did you decide to get into wrestling? I know your parents didn't really do much for you. I know you had to rely on a dad. So how did you kind of get through like the struggles of, you know, people not supporting you in the past to hit what you're looking to do in your life?
Yeah, so I ended up getting into wrestling just because one of my friends was wrestling. And to be honest, I played baseball and I couldn't catch for shit because my dad was a soccer player. And so we never played catch. We would always kick the soccer ball around. So my sports were soccer and wrestling. Soccer was the one that I really enjoyed just because it's one of those things where it's a little bit different because you're not, you're still on a team, but you're not dependent on your team to win your match, right? There's still team competitions where the whole team has to come together and, you know, they move teams up in ranks too, but it's more so an individual sport from the terms, from the side of, from the perspective of the harder you train, the harder you work, the more matches you are going to personally win, the more times you get your hand raised, the more trophies you have to stack up on your shelf. And that's why I liked wrestling. And I think that that's one of the, I mean, I did it for 13 years. And I actually got pretty darn good at it.
Yeah, what was your career record? Do you know your career record?
My career record? Oh gosh, I don't even remember. I think it was like 200 and like 200 wins. It was right around 200 wins and like 32 losses or something like that.
Man, I wouldn't want to mess with you.
That was my high school. That was my high school record. Yeah, it was way more. I probably hundreds more matches before high school. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll go over to Emotep. What you got?
Good morning, guys. Good afternoon, brother. Hey, thank you for sharing with us, brother. Let me ask you a question. Looking back over your career, what's the one thing you wish you had known earlier that could have maybe been more beneficial for you than at your later years?
So I grew up, this one's actually a pretty easy one. I grew up with parents, with family, with friends who would pound into your head that you have to get more education. And then when you enter the healthcare space, it's more education, more certificates, more credentials, more letters behind your name. And that's the only way you're going to move up the ranks or be successful. And there's absolutely zero truth to that. It took me a long time to wake up to that because degrees mean absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's all about the performance and what you can actually deliver to a prospective employer, to yourself, to your own business. And so that's something I wish I would have known beforehand because I don't think you were here when I mentioned at the beginning. So I have 4 degrees, 2 bachelors, 2 masters, and finished 7+ years of college, $130-something thousand in debt. And I tell you what, that's a lot of money to be in debt. My student loan payments were like $2,500 a month. I mean, for some people, that's their freaking mortgage. And it wasn't going to get paid off in, I think it was a 15-year repayment plan. So that's one mistake that I wish I would have been more awake to. And you know, not because people weren't giving me bad advice. They just didn't know any better. I had no entrepreneurs in the family. I had nobody who was doing sales or other things where you can be a really high income earner without a degree. And so certainly if you're going to get into the healthcare space, you kind of do have to have a degree because you need it to get your license. But outside of the healthcare space, you don't need a degree. You don't need an MBA. You don't need all that stuff. You need the skills, and you can get skills faster from things like you guys are doing right now, these different training programs, masterminds, and actually getting in the weeds and just practicing and learning and honing your craft. And so if you're that driven type of individual, like a lot of wrestlers are, who want to get their hand raised, who want to take it to the next level, you're going to be pushing yourself to get better at everything that you do. And that's really what matters, because anybody can go to get a college degree, because C's get degrees, right? I mean, you don't have to leave knowing hardly anything, and you can still get a degree. I had like almost no skills when I graduated. My first degree was in management. It was hotel and resort management. I would sleep through half the classes, and I had B's and I had A's. I slept through half the classes. I partied hard through school. Like, it was just, I didn't learn anything. It was a joke. Now when I went to healthcare, it was a different story. It was hard as hell, and I studied my ass off. But that's something you have to do in the healthcare space. But for most professions that you don't need a license for, that are non-healthcare, those degrees, man, I'm telling you, don't think twice, because you can do really, really well. The richest people I've met in my entire life, and I've met founders of billion-dollar companies, we've been fortunate enough to interview on the podcast, the richest people, they're all business owners, and a lot of them start in sales and marketing, and because that is like the path forward. In order to run a business, you have to be good at sales and marketing. Nobody's gonna market your business like you market it. Nobody's gonna drive sales like you can drive sales. Nobody's gonna love your business like you love your business. And so the marketing and sales are key. So you guys are like right on a perfect path. You can stay in marketing and sales. You can make a lot of money in marketing and sales. I know some sales reps, like I mentioned, that guy doing timeshares, $800K a year. He's probably in the top 0.01%. But you can make $500,000 easily as a sales rep once you hone your craft. So, and then you can transfer that if you want to start your own business. You transfer those skills, and bam, your business is going to take off once you figure out the admin side of the business.
Thank you so much, Jason. Appreciate that.
You got it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason, for that. I'm the same way. I went to college for 4 years. I'm not even using my degree. I went a completely different path. And I think, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 80% of people who go to school that graduate don't get into the field of their degree, right?
It's a huge number. I don't know what the exact statistic is, but it's huge. And a lot of that's just because there's a lot of useless degrees out there that, there's so much pressure to get a degree that people will just go and get any degree and not do any sort of research, sort of like I did with my first one, on the demands in the field, earning potential, once you finish that degree, all those sorts of things.
Awesome. All right, we'll go over to Mr. Luke.
No, just out of curiosity, if you weren't doing healthcare, what would you be doing?
I would have gotten into business a lot sooner, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any like particular fields in it?
So I sort of followed this natural progression that's linked to healthcare, where we do online training and coaching programs for healthcare professionals. But I'm sure, I kind of fell in that path just because I went to the healthcare side of things. But I'm sure I would have ended up here somewhere because, or somehow, in terms of running an online business, just because I did so much research and everything kept pointing into, like Robert Kiyosaki even says it too, you got to do sales and marketing. You got to own your own business. And then I kept finding online business is like the most convenient way and lowest overhead way to start. So I think I would have ended up here at some point, just maybe not in the healthcare space, because maybe I wouldn't have had those degrees. Yeah.
Just a little bit different route, just saying. End.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for that. I guess I'll just ask another one. We'll wait for some more questions to come through. Obviously, personal development is important, right? And it is always still important to learn new things every single day, right? And so, Jason, what do you do to work on your own personal development?
Dude, I do. So I'm a little bit obsessed with personal development ever since I was, a kid in wrestling. And I think that's sort of just something that's innate in me. Like I know mentally that I can do more, or if I know mentally that I can do more in a certain area, like, you're only cheating yourself. That's something our coaches used to always say. Like, if you're not pushing yourself to the point where like you can almost not go any further, then the only person you're cheating is yourself. And it's going to show in your results. And so I want results. And so because I want results so much, because I want those trophies and that my hand raised, I push myself to get better at absolutely everything I do. So personal development is massive for me. It usually revolves around education. And so initially when I first started, it was consuming as much free education as possible. And dude, there's so much free education out there that is unbelievably valuable that there's no way, like Alex Hermosi's YouTube channel and his podcast, free. Some of the best business advice for entrepreneurs that I've ever come across that's not behind a paywall. So there's a ton of books. On the other side of this wall, I actually have a huge bookshelf, floor to ceiling bookshelf with probably 200 maybe or more books in there. Not that I've read every single one of them yet. That every time I hear a good book, I just go buy it and stick it on the shelf and eventually work through all of them. But usually what I like to do is when I reach a problem, which I have a lot of problems in the business, then I find the book that's on my shelf that's directly related to that problem. Because one thing I noticed about personal development is that if you just start randomly reading or randomly listening, most of the stuff that you're listening to is probably, besides mindset, that's always applicable, but a lot of the advice that you're consuming is probably not very relevant to you at that particular stage in your life. And so you're kind of being very inefficient with your time by just listening to random stuff. You should be listening to stuff that's directly going to solve problems that you have. And so, for example, we're in this major hiring situation, and we're systematizing our business. Our business was growing so fast that we needed more people fast, that we didn't have enough systems to hire those people and train them quickly. So what did I do? I went to a mastermind where they talked about they call it EOS, the employer or the entrepreneurial operating system. We've got the operating system in place in our business now. We have very structured meetings. We needed more team members. What did I do? At that same meeting, somebody mentioned the book called The Who. I got that book, studied that book, and now we've implemented all the processes from The Who with our hiring. And so find those problems that you have, whether it's something with you, maybe it's your mindset, maybe it's a skill deficiency, maybe it's something with your sales process, and then find those podcasts, those YouTube channels, those books that can directly fix those problems or help you solve those problems. And you're going to retain that shit way better. I'm telling you. And then if you implement it while you're actually having that problem, that's going to be gold. You'll never forget it. You'll actually use the information. You're not wasting your time learning stuff that you're just going to forget 2 weeks later, because it's going to stick if you actually are implementing. So that would be my advice when it comes to personal development. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for that, Jason. I'll go over to Mr. Glenn Moore.
Just we need to just ask, what kind of advice can you give me, being that when I took this mastermind class, I took it for the simple fact that, I wanted to be able to change lives. And that's my whole goal. And I believe that God is preparing me to sell life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm selling life, being that I'm opening up these recovery homes for people that's in substance abuse, and I just need to know what kind of advice you give me, in order for me to reach more people and families that have people in their families, or maybe them themselves, that want to get the help that's needed.
It sounds like probably you are doing this because you had a problem like this, or somebody had a problem.
I'm a recovering addict myself.
There you go. So those stories are incredibly powerful. And you'll see that some of the most successful businesses are based off of a super powerful story, like somebody's, addiction to recovery story, like somebody's rags to riches story. And so you need to learn how to construct your story in a way that you can tell it to the world online, via blogs, via podcast, and people are going to relate to that story. Anybody who's gone through that sort of chains of addiction, or they're currently in that situation, they're going to relate to you tremendously. And so you got to get it out. You got to get it out somehow. Podcasting is probably the easiest way. It's pretty cheap. All you need is a cell phone. You can literally record in your cell phone, upload it to Libsyn for like $20 a month. You got a podcast. Pay somebody on Fiverr $10 to make a podcast logo, and you're good to go. So I would start with something simple, something that you can stick to. You leverage that story that you have that's super powerful, and go from there. And then you got to serve people from the heart, and usually for free initially. So you got to find a couple of case studies, for example. Case studies, testimonials are huge. And so you've gone through it. So you could start up a local meetup where you can, get a little group together of 10 or 15 people and actually help somebody who's struggling through the same situation, and you've gotten through it. So you're perfectly poised to help them. Right. And so if you help a few people through that, and they're willing to leave you a review, a testimonial, or some sort of documentation, you document the story yourself via podcast or a YouTube video or series, then you got proof that you know what you're doing. You've been there, you got yourself out of it, you've helped other people get out of it, and then you can create a business around that, because you've got the story, you've got the testimonials, you got the proof, and then the rest is just, you'll figure it out as you go.
All right, appreciate it.
Jason, let me ask you this. What would you say is your 5-year, because you've been very successful throughout your life, throughout your career, you've done a lot, but what's your short 5-year vision from now?
So 5 years, so I got a 3-year vision. My 5 years is a little bit less foggy because I like 3-year goals. So 3 years, we're shooting for to be an 8-figure a year business, and so this year we'll probably hit just around 3 million, and so 3 more years, that's going to be a $10 million a year business, the Healthcare Entrepreneur Academy. So we're launching the Aesthetics Academy here this year. We're launching a Direct Primary Care Practice Academy, and we're launching masterminds and live events. So all sorts of cool stuff going on business wise, and then personal wise, it's a lot of see. For me, and I feel like I kind of relate to, I watch Alex Hormozy periodically, and I relate to some of the stuff he talks about, where people tell him that they work a little bit too much. They try to project their thoughts and their perceptions on you. So for me personally, like, I enjoy working. I absolutely love it. I get so much joy out of getting those small wins every day that some people are like, yeah, in 5 years I want to be on a beach doing nothing. Like, that would bore the freaking crap out of me. So for me, that's not really a thing. Having some decent balance, being able to spend some time with my kids and take some vacations and travel, like we do now. That's a part of the plan too. Just continuing to do that. But yeah, I'm definitely not the chill on the beach kind of person. Like, I get bored way too fast. I need some challenges and some things to work towards.
Yeah, 100%. I really appreciate that. So I got a question about that too, because I do love working too, but there's a point where, if you work too much in a day, like if you're putting in 15, 16 hours a day, right, you could just start burning yourself out. So how do you gonna manage your work-life balance, right? You enjoy work, but just kind of balance that out, so you're not getting burned out at the end of the day.
Yeah, so for me, like, fitness is a huge part of just who I am. It always has been. And so, like, for me, the days I drive my kids to school 3 days a week, every other day, I basically start my day with a workout. Like, right below this studio down here, I got a full gym, like CrossFit style gym. And so I hit some cardio. I do at least 30 minutes of cardio in the morning. And then usually in the afternoon, I do an hour of weightlifting or 45 minutes of weightlifting. So that's like my release. It helps me clear my mind. Like, when I'm get those endorphins cranking on a hard workout, like, my creativity level just skyrockets. I come up with crazy new business ideas or solutions to business problems. And that really is my main thing to keep balance. Now, I'm on a pretty strict schedule. Like, I get into the office usually at 9 o'clock after the workout, and then I'm usually done no later than 6 o'clock. Like, I just don't. And then periodically, throughout the evening, if something urgent pops up, I deal with it. Weekends, I really don't work anymore. I used to get the momentum going, you got to grind a little bit. So I had to grind for a couple years, but now the momentum is just going. The business is running, the team is doing things when I'm not able to. And so the momentum is the hardest part. Once you can get past the spot where you have no momentum, I mean, when you have no momentum, it's literally like you're trying to run in a 5-foot pool up against all that resistance. It's so much effort to get things going. But eventually, it's with just a matter of months to maybe years. You're basically running towards the shallow end of the pool. All that momentum's building up, and the resistance is just dropping every step that you take. And so pretty soon, you're out of the pool and you're running against air, and things are just rolling, and you don't have to work that hard like you were originally. So. You have to grind. Don't get me wrong in the beginning. You got to grind it. But if you grind it for a while, you'll see that work-life balance sort of falls into place for most people. Yep.
Yeah. Work hard now, play hard later.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Do we have any other? We got about 10 minutes left. Does anyone have any other questions they want to throw out there? Okay, I'll just ask another one. Jason, what is like the biggest piece of advice you can give someone starting off their entrepreneurship career?
So the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is there's basically two things: stay focused and get really good at something. Doesn't matter what it is. There are people who are like I was watching this YouTube channel, and this guy got damn good at making these organic smoothies and is now like running this, I think it's a 9-figure or 10-figure, like a huge chain of smoothie. Like, just get really good at something. If you have a passion for sales, get really freaking good at sales. If you have a passion for business, get really good at starting and running businesses. It does not matter. I can tell you, if you are in the top 0.1%, even the top 1% of any niche, any industry, you are going to be absolutely crushing it. It's all about being far above average. If you go on Google right now and you Google the average household income, you'll see that it's like somewhere around 50. That's household. So that's usually oftentimes including two spouses or two income earners. It's around 50 grand a year. So you have to do whatever it takes to not be average anymore. And so staying focused and getting really good so that you don't have to ever live that average life is what you got to do.
Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate that. Any other questions out there?
So what would you say, man, like, is like the, like, if you're going to like start a business, what would you say would be like the first thing that you would start doing? Like, would you go to school, or would you like, what would be like the first thing?
So if I were to start a business right now, you mean like start from scratch?
Yeah, like start from scratch or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple of variables that come into play. And so I would say that probably the biggest variable is your access to capital. And if somebody doesn't have a lot of access to capital, then online is 100% where it's at. You gotta move online. It doesn't take a lot of money to start an online business. If you have access to capital, then sky's the limit. I'm a fan, even if you have access to capital, I'm personally a fan of online anyways. And the reason I'm a fan of online is because you can sell to anybody in the freaking world that speaks English. And you can even translate your stuff, whatever it is, your landing pages or whatever you got to offer, and sell it into different speaking countries. So your market size is tremendous when you move to the online space. That's why you see, I keep mentioning Alex Hormozy, but I'm a fan of his and watching a lot of his stuff right now. He went from starting and operating gyms, right, to creating training programs to teach people how to scale gyms. And so if you're running a gym, your income is capped, right? Because you're at a brick and mortar location. Only people within a certain radius are going to come to that gym. And so the only way to scale is to build up multiple locations all around the country, which is super capital intensive. In the online space, you can start a business and you immediately have the entire US as your market. Who's interested in whatever niche it is that you have. So that could be, you could be doing e-com. If you have a skill or an expertise, like Glenn, helping people with recovery, you could teach online how to overcome addiction problems. Almost everybody has something that they're really good at, and oftentimes they don't give themselves credit for it. And so probably one of the absolute lowest risk, easiest things that you could possibly do, which is what I would do, is pick something that I'm personally good at. Right now, I'm pretty darn good at marketing, actually. So if I didn't have the healthcare back side of things, I would be starting either a marketing agency, a marketing training program, something like that. And I'm sure there's something that you do. I saw a guy who sells training programs on woodworking. He's making many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year selling templates to show people how to, in videos and courses on how to, showing people how to create woodworking projects. So it doesn't have to be technical. It doesn't have to be, something, earth-shattering or rocket science related. Like, there's something that you're good at, Anthony, that you could probably teach people online and start a business around. And then you can leverage that money, that income from that business to scale your business or to start other businesses. That's what you see all the ultra successful entrepreneurs are doing, is they're leveraging that business income and reinvesting it to either grow their business or to start other businesses. Because there's a massive tax advantage, if you haven't studied this yet, to having a business income, right? So when you earn income personally, you get taxed your personal tax income rate on that. When you own a business, you have your income, which even if it's the same, say your W-2 salary wage is $100,000 and your business income is $100,000, would say it's just you. You're working as your own 1099 contractor or whatever for yourself. You're a freelancer. Well, if you're a W-2 employee, you're paying taxes on all of this money right here. The difference is, if you're a business owner, as a business, you have a lot of expenses, right? So you have this much expenses. Some of these expenses are actually somewhat personal expenses. Could be your car, could be your cell phone. So you're driving your taxable income down, right? So now your new taxable income is down here versus what it was up here. So you have this much room essentially to play with. Well, I guess it would be the taxable difference on this part here. You have that much more income that you can reinvest to scale things up much faster. Hopefully that makes sense. So even if you don't have the intentions of starting, a huge business, everybody, in my opinion, should own a business, because you can drastically reduce your taxable income by writing off business expenses.
Awesome. Thanks for that. We'll wrap it up with these last two questions here. We'll go with Michael. I guess he just dropped it in the chat. He said, maybe you answered this question already, but is there any books or courses you would recommend?
Yeah, so gosh, there's so many. I guess it would boil down to what specific topic, but I can tell you the book that essentially changed my mindset around being a W-2 employee. And I think that that's huge. I think that if you're a W-2 employee for your entire life, you are missing massive amounts of opportunity. So in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, and I think his other one talks about it too, even a little bit more, the 4 quadrants one. I forget the exact name of it, but look up Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then usually it's the second book is a suggested a buy on that one, or it'll come up when you search for it. But he talks about the 4 quadrants, right? Everybody starts out pretty much as a W-2 employee, then you can move to independent contractor, 1099, where you're self-employed. It's just kind of you, and then you can go from business owner to investor. So you need to be moving around those quadrants if you want to take things to the next level. So if you're a W-2 employee, your first goal should be to start up a small business and become like an independent contractor, start a side gig, and that's going to allow you to leverage those tax savings. Once you're there, then you can start to move some of your money to investing. You can start to scale your business. When he talks about business, he's talking about businesses with hundreds of employees. And so by running and working up towards a business with hundreds of employees, you're able to leverage the time and skills and resources of hundreds of people working for you, right? And essentially you're skimming a margin off the top. So if you have hundreds of people working for you, you're skimming margins off of their labor because you've created value, right? You've organized everybody, you've systematized things, and your business is adding value to the world. So because you created a whole process system of business that adds value, you're going to be able to capitalize on that value, and you're not going to have to do all the actual hard work yourself, right? Like you're going to have the W-2 employees doing the work for you. And so that should be the goal. And if you want to learn more about it, I highly suggest the Robert Kiyosaki books. That just completely flips your mindset.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for that. And then we'll wrap it up. Last question, Mr. Brandon Bates.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for bringing that up, because I'm a W-2 1099 employee myself. Installing gutters for the company I install for. The owner, he's the only employee of his company, and his sons, and I'm one of the employees that 1099 contract for him. So yeah, thanks for bringing that, turning myself into a business thing up, because man, those taxes are rough. Goodness.
Yeah, so as a 1099 contractor, you can structure yourself so you can pay yourself personally as a 1099 contractor. Yeah. And you can still write off expenses that way. You can operate like a business, but what most people will do is set up an LLC and then run all their business expenses through that LLC. You pay yourself a W-2 salary, which is much smaller than what you're earning as a business. Your business income is this high, and then you pay yourself this much. And so your taxable income is, this much, you know what I mean?